Hi, welcome back to my channel. I hope you'll join me today to paint these geraniums in a white vase on a vintage background. Today I'll be using my SeimiArt and Sonnet watercolors. I'm also using my 350 GSM watercolor paper from Dollar Tree. This is cut to 4 by 5. I have my size 6 flat and round brush. I have my watercolor palette handy, and I have 2 jars of water, one for rinsing my brush and the other for using for actual painting. I also have a clean cloth for dabbing up any mistakes. Let's get started. I really wanted to just start by outlining my picture. I just want to outline that in some water because I'm going to drop in a background with pigment. Now, I probably am going to wish that I had penciled this in, and often I do, but I kind of feel like I can just take a more relaxed approach today and just kind of see what happens. So, and now I've already added water where I would have a handle, so maybe I'll just make this a vase that doesn't really have a handle. So sometimes if I don't sketch something out, I might not remember exactly what it is I kind of thought I would do. And that's okay. Sometimes I have kind of surprised myself with something else and thought, it may not have been my original intention, but sometimes that's just good and fun too. And I can always come back later and do it the way I maybe originally thought I would or whatever. But I'm adding quite a bit. This is actually in some places kind of puddling up on my paper. And I just want to go around the vase one more time. I like this to be really wet because I really want to be able to put a good amount of pigment in here and have it really just blend out. So lots of water. I left a few little spots open for some flower clusters that I really want to leave unpigmented. And I think what I want to use for this, I want almost a neutral background, just a little bit warm. So I'm going to use my raw sienna. I love this color. It's just such a nice vintagey, it's kind of a warm neutral. Goes with lots of things. And okay, start brushing that out. You can see I'm not concerned with my border being perfect. I am brushing out what I have right against the shape of the vase because I actually don't want that to have too much of like a defined shadow there. So just kind of drop that in and leave some brush marks, leave some places that are kind of heavy, but kind of push that pigment away from just right beside the jar. And just kind of dabbing up here. Where my flowers are going to be, I like to kind of dab that because I don't, at least this time, I don't really want a defined line there. And sometimes I do that, and sometimes my paper's a little too dry there, and I just end up with maybe a little more of that defined line and some pigment, and then what happens is I can kind of see that in my florals, and I think it's fine probably. But so here I'm just kind of being sure to turn my brush some different directions as I drop this pigment in so that my brush strokes are just a little varied. I think that's going to give me some nice texture in that background. And I want to go all around this entire background. Because I want this whole arrangement to kind of have some color and depth back there. Sometimes if you are really working a lot of water into your watercolor paper, you'll notice, whoa, that's really deep. You'll notice that, oh, maybe you get a little bit of pilling or lifting, and you know, if it's a good watercolor paper or you just have played with it a bit, you kind of know how much it can take, and you kind of know, you know, do I like this or not? And you can just kind of decide whether to add, you know, large amounts or not, because it's yours and you get to decide that. I actually like this, you know, dark, a little bit of dark and light. I think it looks nice. So come in here with a little more of this. It needs a little more wet. And I'm gonna rinse and blot my brush so I can soak up a little bit of this. I like the pigment, but I have just quite a large amount of a puddle there, and I just kind of don't want that. I'm good with it being loose, so I'm just adding some water right here where I had placed that pigment and it was just a bit too dry. And then, yeah, just a little bit of blending, not, you know, don't want to overdo it, but I like all this texture out here, and I like some texture in here too. Now, I had some stuff on my heart today, so I was just thinking about my own art journey, if you will, and I was just thinking about how, for a while anyway, I kind of felt that art was inaccessible to me, and I think I really had in my head that it was too hard. I couldn't learn. And I guess what I wanted to say today is, if you have this in your mind and in your heart as something you would like to do, you can definitely do it. You can learn watercolor. You can probably paint better than I can. I'm not here trying to convince anyone that I'm doing anything particularly well or good even. You know, I'm just doing what I like, and you can too. And you can find joy in just doing it. And it doesn't matter if other people find beauty in it or if they can appreciate your work or talent. It really does not matter. But if it's something that you have considered, I would like to do that, then just do it. And find a tutorial for some kind of thing that just kind of draws you, just kind of makes you feel like, oh, that's something I would love to paint, and then just paint it. And don't worry about your results. You're just learning, and just do it. I really felt like that was an important message today, and I'm not sure why. I feel like maybe somebody really specifically needs to hear that. So yeah, just do it. So I just want to add in kind of some soft flowers in those empty spaces, and I'm going to switch my brush. So I think what I want to do here are some geraniums. And you know, sometimes I can go a bit crazy with the geraniums. My flower pots and whatnot can get just maybe overly crowded, and so here I just want to do a few of the geranium clusters on their stems, and then some leaves. I want to keep it nice and loose, and so I'm going to see if I can try to do this. What I want to do is start with my dark red, and I like this because it's a fairly warm red, and my Madder Lake red is one that I use quite a bit, and I love it, but it is definitely much more of a pink. And I just want more of a red on this background today. So I've gone in with this, you know, heavily pigmented, these strokes here, and I'm trying to keep them pretty wet, but I am rinsing and brushing off my water here, and then I'm just touching all these places that I've placed pigment. I'm just touching these with the tip of my brush to make petal shapes, and you know, kind of just loose. It just kind of happens on its own. It's honestly not really a something you have to work too hard with. You can go different directions with that. Overlapping is great, and the fact that this is kind of overlapping this background, like, definitely yes, that totally works. And so I don't want to overwork these, but I do want lots of flowers in that, and so I like that. I think that works real well. And see how, you know, just touching the water to those dots of pigment lets that pigment just bleed out into that, and then you have this range of your tone there. You've got a difference in your value, so you have a deep value and a light value, and I just love that. I think it's such an easy way to look like you know, you're making something more detailed when you're just really not, and you don't really have to. Okay, and I'm doing just really one cluster of flowers at a time because I want to work while these are wet enough, and you know, I didn't really make them puddles, and because of that, if I had made them a bit more puddly, then I'd have a little more time. But I brushed them in, and it's a good amount of pigment, and it's still damp-ish, and that's really the only reason I'm able to, you know, get these things worked in there. But I just love geraniums for the fact that, well, I mean, they're so cheerful, and so I love them for that. But I also love that when painting them, you know, gosh darn, they are just, you almost can't do them wrong. And it's so easy to get this this look that's, you know, these are going to be geraniums without without having to really, you know, make too much precision and effort and detail. You can, these really are just nice for being almost abstractish. And I think I'm just going to do maybe 3 of these. I might do just a few of the little, you know, petal clusters out, because geraniums are kind of like that. They can have these little spidery, leggy places. But, you know, I'm just dabbing in these petals and then coming back to them with the water. They're so fun. And, you know, I don't know. I hope you can see how much of a gradient they just kind of naturally create by doing this technique. So fun. So cute. And I just love these brushes that, you know, they have these great tips on them, and it's just so easy to make petals. Just using the little tip of that, it's just super, super easy. Okay. So I'm going to go in with my olive green. I love that deep red and that yellow deep, dark red and Yellow Deep together. I actually did not swatch these together. I really could just tell that they would go. And like I said, this raw sienna it's just one of those colors that a lot of shades go with. But one thing you can do if you're a little reluctant about, you know, which colors really go, just swatch them out. Use a backside of some piece that, you know, maybe didn't work out or whatever, or a scrap. I often have little scraps that are just suited for that. And I will just swatch those colors all together and check them out. Now I was going to put a leaf right here because I've got this open spot, but I don't love that because just as far as composition, I'll have this leaf right in the middle here. And I'm not sure that I'm going to love that. So I'm just going to work on some other areas first. And I'm not worried about filling every white area, actually. I'm really not. But I think to get a good start, I will go ahead and make these stems. I try not to go completely from the center. And that's just personal preference. I just find that I like it better if I don't do that. Pretty much like any composition better if I don't do that. So this is me trying not to do that. Okay, and just creating these cabbagey kinds of leaves. I think there would be some leaves coming off of these. I do not care if they overlap these stems. I think that's totally fine. Okay, and because I really want to I want to blend these with some yellow, I want to do that kind of quick. Sometimes I wait, and sometimes I do it kind of quickly, and so today we're going to go for quick. I like to scallop these in. I feel like we could have one more leaf right over here, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure where or how to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and go with my yellow. And I want this to be kind of a light wash, just a lighter amount of pigment in it. And I just want to kind of take this green into it and let those colors just bleed together a little bit. I'm going to rinse before I go back into my yellow just because I don't want to take that green into it. Okay. And I feel like they could be a little deeper. They could have some places that are deeper. So let's go on the bottoms of some of these. And see, now that we've added in that yellow and allowed it to bleed into these, we've got some nice water to kind of bleed into for these, for just a little more detail. Okay. Let's see. Gotta figure out where to go for this. I think let's just make another one coming out from behind it. And I think I'm gonna go back and make those even a little bit darker and just have a little more of a scallop on the edges, I think. But for now, I think I want to just add a few other, oh, I don't know, stems and greens. We could do another shade of something for some additional interest. Okay, I like that. Okay. All right, and then just taking this green, and you know what I think I'm going to do? I just want to add the tiniest bit of my lamp black just to darken that a little. And just, you know, taking it in. Just trying to scraggle up those sides a little bit, those edges. This, I think, too, is going to help distinguish the color that these are from those leaves that I just put in, because I did just straight use the olive, which really I should have just blended with maybe a brown or something. And it's okay. We're not worried about it. Just make some more scallops. Want to make those visible. Just give this a little more texture. Okay, like maybe a slightly lighter value of this olive, so just adding a bit more water. Okay. Let's come down here with that. Oh, I like it. You don't have to do two of these. I feel like, you know, when I do those, I have a tendency to make two of those little kind of tendril things come out, but they don't really have to be done in twos. Okay, I think I'd like for these geranium stems to be thicker, especially as they get to the bottom of the, like to the vase there, because these are, they can be kind of stocky, I think. But I'll be really honest, I don't exactly know, and they just seem like they would be, because these are, you know, they're kind of substantial flowers. Okay, then just taking a bit of this green and making these little inner stems that kind of, you know, connect these little clusters of flowers. And not trying to connect everyone. I don't think that's necessary. Just here and there. And sometimes I'll do the stems kind of together, you know, two little stems together. So far, I like this. Yeah. Okay, now I just want to add some kind of like swoopy greenery in there. Probably add a little bit of brown to this, and not a lot at all, but just something to kind of muddy it and differentiate it from the other greens. Okay, I like that. I used my olive mix here and just a little bit of dark brown, but I want this to be just kind of a light wash of it. So what I'm going to do is just kind of make these going different directions, but in this background here, okay, I like it. Okay, really happy with this, y'all. All right, and maybe one more thing over here. Just kind of has its own, there we go. I like it. Okay. So now I think just for a little depth in there and some I don't know, shadow almost, I'm just going to go in where I've got these white areas. And I'm not trying to perfectly fill them, but just make little brush strokes through them. And, you know, not all the way up. I don't think I need that. But just to kind of, I don't know, give that a little more depth. And then I may take a bit of my, this watery olive and brown and go in some of those brush strokes and leaves that I made, and just kind of add a little hint of shadow on them. So I'm not trying to get this perfect, but just kind of deepening those a little bit to kind of differentiate that from what I just did in, you know, making those shadows in there. And, you know, I'm good with like little bitty strokes here and there. Okay, I'm real happy with this. And then I just want to be sure that I have really enough stems to kind of, you know, balance what I have going on out here. I don't want to necessarily have a stem for everything. I don't think that that's necessary, but I do want to have enough. And I'm going in just in between a few of these petals with that browned green that I blended, and just brushing some little brush strokes to give a little bit of shadow in there. So it's kind of that green brown, and not being perfect, not even really taking very much time or even care, just, you know, just kind of doing that. And certainly now I'm okay with this right here, and I'm gonna real quick, I'm gonna stop and see if I can move away from this highlight. Okay, that works for me. And so then here, the other thing you could do, I'm really not concerned about it, but I've got this little triangle of white, and you know, you could take your just that background color in a really light wash, and you know, because you don't want to go in with just what would be a huge amount of pigment, and just kind of fill that. And again, I don't know that that really matters. I'm okay with it, but I think I like it better that it's not such a noticeable shape there. I probably do. And then you can also go in here with your background color, but that's up to you. That's just a choice, and it's not going to be right or wrong, whichever thing you choose to do, because it's your art. So there you have it. I think I'm good with that for today. You could put more detail in those geranium leaves. I'm happy with them like this, and just the other little simple greeneries. So I think I would call that finished. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint this today. I hope you painted along with it, or that you'll save it and paint it again later. As always, happy painting!